Hey everyone, and welcome back to Mall Walking. We all have those things that conjure up a certain feeling inside of us. It might be the smell of coconut sun cream reminding you of a vacation, or the taste of a certain liquor that takes you right back to a killer hangover. Or it could be a place that, when you step inside, transports you to another time. For me, the Oaks Mall is just such a place. On my first solo trip to the US more than a decade ago, like so many Brits do, I flew into Orlando, Florida. On the second night of the trip, I stayed in Gainesville to see the Florida Gators play. I don't remember much about the game, but I do remember visiting the Oaks Mall the following morning. Stepping out of the swampy morning air and into air conditioning, I felt a smile spread across my face. I got the sensation that my vacation was well and truly underway. I've flown into Orlando many times since then, and I always try to swing by the Oaks for a reminder of that feeling. On my last visit to the US, I was able to take advantage of mall walking hours to explore the Oaks Mall when it was virtually empty. I also wandered around a much larger mall when it was completely deserted on the same trip, but that's one for a future video. Mall walking hours don't really have an equivalent here in the UK, with the exception of browsing time. On this side of the pond, shops above a certain size can only open legally for 6 consecutive hours on Sundays. They can, however, open their doors half an hour or so earlier for what's called browsing time. The result is, more often than not, that you end up with a handful of impatient shoppers raring to check out at 2 minutes to 10 for having to wait. For the uninitiated, mall walking is unbelievably popular in the US. The activity, which originated in the 1960s, is pretty self-explanatory. It's walking in the mall. And it's particularly popular with senior citizens and those in hotter parts of the US. This mall might, by the way, be the only place I've ever seen a shuttered GNC. These things usually stick around until the bitter end. But not to worry, GNC was actually moving to another spot around the corner, presumably freeing up space for a smaller retailer like this one. It's not uncommon for malls in the US to open their doors up to 2 hours earlier than their posted opening times. That's 2 hours before their stores even open, to give mall walkers unfettered access. Walking in the mall means access to an air-conditioned environment with smooth, even flooring that you won't find on any trail. Crucially, for those who live in questionable neighbourhoods, it also means a safe and secure place to get your steps in. The CDC has a 50-page guide to mall walking, linked below, in which an octogenarian describes the activity as being almost like a drug. If you miss a day, you really feel it. The guide ends with, and I'm not kidding here, quotations from Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche. A lot of malls have distance markers to help walkers see how much ground they've covered, and many mall websites have small sections devoted to information for mall walkers. In other words, mall walking is big, well, business isn't quite the right word, because these folks aren't really there to shop, although they might grab a coffee or a snack in the food court. But mall walkers do have some value to the mall because they increase footfall, literally, and make the place look busier. And these days, that's more vital than ever. The Oaks is far from a dead mall, with more than 100 retailers spread over almost 1 million square feet of retail space. But it's not immune to the struggles that most American malls are facing right now. Recent reviews on Google talk about there being a lot of empty stores, with one describing a strip of the mall that, quote, I like to call the dead zone because no stores are in it. We'll take a look at this so-called dead zone later on. Of course, unlike Victoria's, how I feel about this place is no secret. I love the Oaks. Opened in 1978 and anchored by J.C. Penney and Belk, both of whom are still there today, we can see the former up ahead. The mall has gradually expanded since then. In the years between, they've attracted, and lost, Bedine's, Sears, Ivy's and Macy's as anchors. Just 5 years ago, this mall was at a staggering 96% occupancy. It's dipped a little since then, and is still grappling what to do with a vacant anchor store, but Brookfield Properties, the majority owners of the mall, aren't shy about thinking outside the box. The University of Florida Health recently signed a 20-year lease on a large area of the mall to house a couple of their departments, which we'll check out later, opening in 2020 after a significant renovation. Let's get back to mall walking, shall we? One 1999 New York Times article made the following bullish conclusion about mall walking. Quote, "It's not a social thing or a fitness thing, it's a holiday training thing. The holidays are coming down on us like a Force 12 hurricane, and the mall walkers are preparing for the onslaught. They are the special forces of shopping, the Marines of merchandise." Things have changed in the last 20 some years, and I don't think many people watching this channel doubt that there are other reasons besides shopping that people could be interested in malls. A similar article written for Bloomberg in 2022 reached some much less cynical conclusions, ending with a charming quote from a mall walker in Pennsylvania. "The mall walkers who have been walking at Pittsburgh Mills for years would like to see the mall open a little earlier in these colder months. It's such a wonderful, well-maintained mall where we have made such great friendships." We're coming into the food court now, which is, in my opinion, one of the areas where the Oaks is lacking a little bit. Chick-fil-A and Charlie's are the only brand name options in the food court, although there's a couple of decent perimeter spots like Buffalo Wild Wings. Then again, maybe I'm in the minority, since this place is always hopping when the mall is open, and there were plenty of folks milling around even during mall walking hours. I can't help but notice that some heavy hitters, Foot Locker, Hot Topic, Hollister, and, inexplicably, an air conditioning installation company, are located right off the food court, which I have to imagine helps with footfall. Let's round things out by taking a look at what I believe the Google reviewer I mentioned earlier referred to as the dead zone. No doubt this end of the mall is quieter, but it might not stay that way for long. The mall certainly isn't at 96% occupancy anymore, but its owners tend to do a pretty good job of filling up vacant space, like they have done with this VR gaming area. A recent viral tweet by Danielle Weisberg reads as follows: "Just occurred to me that I probably love airports because they are safe walkable little cities with bathrooms and snacks everywhere. Well, for mall walkers, you could easily replace the word airport with mall. And as out-of-the-box entities like University of Florida Health move in, I can see a world in which that becomes even more true. In other words, don't count malls, or their devoted mall walkers, out just yet." Thank you for watching this video. I hope you consider leaving a like and subscribing if you enjoyed it. Both really help to make these videos more visible to other people who might be interested. My Instagram and Patreon, and some other ways to support the channel, are linked below. Until next time, goodbye from the Oaks Mall and its mall walkers.